Gaurav, really good having you. Thanks so much for joining in. Before we come into the markets, Gaurav, and before we come in about specific strategies, just a word on the NBFC space. Barring maybe one or two flash disappointments, I think broadly the NBFCs have delivered, be it in LIC Housing Finance, Growth Finance, SKS Micro right now. We hear Capital First and M&M Financial might also have a fairly decent quarter. It seems to be in a good spot after a small peg back in Q4.
Right, so I mean broadly numbers so far have been at least in line with expectations, if not better. But I mean the question obviously that we need to ask is that how sustainable is this? So far they've obviously also benefited from the fact that yields have been broadly falling, and that sort of, you know, the spread of their loan book versus the falling cost has obviously helped many of these NBFCs. But the key area to focus on for these NBFCs would be the NPA bit. And at least in the auto financial space, you know, we think that NPAs might be peaking, but not so much to do with you know, a lot of financiers who are actually, you know, financing the lab books. So our view broadly is that real estate is going through, you know, a bit of a trouble, a bit of a rough patch, and that will continue for the foreseeable future. And as and when that happens, a lot of these NBFCs that have books exposed to mortgage finances or LAP financing in general, think, you know, we think those should take the brunt. So you know, from that point of view, you need to not take NBFCs as a consolidated basket, but rather look at different pockets in there. Two-wheelers, you know, we think might be, or in general, you know, sort of the vehicle financing business, we think might be all right for now. But it's the mortgage and lab financing business that we worry about, and we think that the NPA worries for those companies might just be beginning.
Gaurav, what's the sense that you're getting about pharmaceuticals? Because they seem to be in a bit of a trouble spot, so to speak. We saw that with Sun Pharma yesterday. Aurobindo Pharma played out, and the rub-off, it's, you know, is quite visible in the entire pharma pack, so to speak. And today you've got Lupin's numbers as well. What is your expectation, A, on the kind of moves we are bound to see from pharmaceuticals? Is it just the beginning of underperformance? And B, expectations from Lupin, if you may have?
Right. So, I mean, firstly, you know, answering your first question, which is that the expectation on pharma space in general, and our view broadly is that, you know, I mean, again, if you look at what has happened in terms of Indian markets over the last several years, especially the last 3 or 4 years, is that people have flocked into stocks which have some degree of earnings visibility. And as a result, many of these stocks have re-rated to pretty high valuations in terms of their PE multiples, etc. So from that point of view, pharma obviously has been a space which has delivered relatively stable earnings, where visibility has stayed relatively high versus the rest of the market. Going forward, you know, our expectation would be that obviously, I mean, in general, pharma is a space is not inexpensive anymore. It is decently expensive, but there will be few pockets that will continue to deliver outperformance. And broadly speaking, you know, I mean, on the name that you just mentioned, Lupin, which is supposed to report today, we have been buyers on the name, and we continue to think that that stock should, you know, I mean, obviously this quarter might be a bit of a soft one, but overall from a 12-month point of view, we continue to be buyers on that name. And you know, which is why any weakness around this result is something that we've already seen over the last 2 days, but if it does persist today, we would take that to be a good buying opportunity.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.